He lived surrounded by people, yet every evening felt strangely empty. Festivals filled the village with laughter. Weddings brought families together, and life seemed to move forward for everyone around him. But inside, something felt missing. This generation had learned to fear loneliness, as if silence itself was proof that something was wrong. And so, the young man believed that being alone meant he was broken, unaware that the very thing he feared would one day become his greatest source of strength. Dinner tables became quieter, and even his parents struggled to understand the sadness hidden behind his silence. He smiled when others expected him to smile, but every night felt heavier than anyone imagined. He searched for distractions, hoping noise could fill the emptiness inside his restless mind. Yet every distraction only delayed the same feeling, waiting for him when everything became quiet again. He questioned his worth whenever people disappeared. He blamed himself when friendships faded. Deep inside, he feared being forgotten more than he feared being misunderstood. And like millions of young men, he believed loneliness was a punishment rather than a season of growth. Then something changed. After spending enough time alone, he discovered something unexpected. In crowds, he heard the world. But alone, he finally heard himself. For the first time, his thoughts were no longer buried beneath noise. Silence stopped feeling empty because it gave his mind room to breathe. He realized that no empire had ever been built inside endless conversations and constant distractions. Great work demanded focus, and focus preferred silence. Every meaningful dream required moments when nobody was watching and nobody was applauding. A seed grew underground before anyone admired the tree. A lion hunted alone because survival required awareness instead of approval. Even a phone charged fastest when disconnected from constant interruptions. And slowly, he understood a truth most people never discover. The less he desperately needed others, the more people respected his presence. Confidence appeared naturally when approval stopped becoming the center of his identity. Silence became training instead of punishment. Discipline replaced desperation. He stopped chasing attention because purpose had become louder than loneliness. Strength arrived quietly, without applause and without permission. The lonely boy slowly transformed into someone completely comfortable with himself. And strangely, people began respecting the peace they once misunderstood. His silence no longer felt empty because purpose had moved into that space. He discovered that the strongest relationship he would ever build was the one with himself. That was the moment loneliness stopped hurting and started teaching. His first ritual began before sunrise while the world still slept. Every morning, he sat alone and asked himself one simple question. He listened without distractions, without music, and without running away from his thoughts. For 2 hours, he removed unnecessary noise and allowed his mind to settle. He learned to face loneliness instead of escaping it. Whenever difficult emotions appeared, he looked inward instead of reaching for distractions. Little by little, silence became a place of recovery instead of fear. The world remained loud, but his mind became calm. People called him lonely, but he called it preparation. Because strength was never built inside crowds. It was built inside silence. The lonely boy disappeared, and a stronger man stood in his place. He no longer feared being alone because solitude had become his advantage. And one day, he realized something that changed everything. They called him the lonely boy. He called it training. And somewhere inside that silence, he finally found peace. Because sometimes, the greatest companion a man can discover is himself. If silence becomes strength, comment solo.